Heli Aalto a KONE, a világ vezető lift és mozgó lépcsőgyártó cégének magyarországi és szlovéniai regionális igazgatója. A cég több mint 60 000 embert foglalkoztat világszerte. Pályafutása során marketing, kommunikációs, üzletfejlesztési és általános vezetői pozíciókban dolgozott Finnországban, Lengyelországban és Magyarországon. Másfél éve Magyarországon él férjével és 2 tinédzser gyermekével. Henna Knuuttila a budapesti finn nagykövetség nagykövet-helyettese. 2005-től a külügyminisztérium több részlegén dolgozott Helsinkiben, majd Kuala Lumpurban és Pozsonyban. 2019-ben Budapestre helyezték. Henna és férje 3 gyermeket nevelnek.
Hello, good evening. As you know, from the local to the global level, women's participation in political leadership and leadership in general is restricted. Whether this is civil service, elected office, the private sector or academia or the corporate sector, women's participation is just not at the same level where men are. Henna, you listed a lot of things to be proud of in the Nordic countries. Do you think that these countries have essentially reached complete gender equity, or are there things still missing?
You're absolutely right. Women are underrepresented, as you mentioned, and actually there is no country in the world that would have reached fully the gender equality. If we take a global perspective and think about women in decision making, among the parliamentarians, there are approximately 25% of female parliamentarians in the world. In Nordic countries, we have more, as we saw also in this poll question. And I wanted to mention some areas where female politicians have made a contribution. So traditionally, women in politics have advanced agendas related to social welfare, education systems. For example, in our case, the pension and insurance systems in 1960s, maternity allowance, child allowance, and in all Nordic countries, women parliamentarians have been forming legislation concerning daycare already since 1960s. And it's quite typical in the Nordic countries that widely available and affordable public services, especially daycare, that has been mentioned already, make it possible to combine work and family life. As long as until 1990s, political positions, especially in higher level, were rather divided according to gender. So women typically held portfolios related to social affairs, education, and women were heading the bigger governmental agencies related to these fields. But later on, most of these glass ceilings have been broken. We have had a women Minister of Defense, Foreign Minister, also Head of State in 2000, Tarja Halonen. And currently, if we think about today's topic and women currently in the executive government positions, meaning as a Prime Minister, as a Head of State, there are globally 27, until last week there was 26 women serving in these positions according to UN Women. So also in this political level, women are really underrepresented. In Finland, we have a government led by Ms. Sanna Marin, one of the youngest prime ministers in the world, and she's among the 14 female prime ministers currently in the world. And advancing gender equality is very much in the focus of her government program. But it's not only about this government and only about their priorities, because advancing gender equality is also an international obligation of countries. So a number of internationally agreed norms and standards relate to women's leadership and political participation as well. I also wanted to mention that in public, state or municipal bodies whose members are not elected in elections, for example, in committees, working groups, We have had the quota system of 40% in use since 1995. This means that, for example, if there is a new working group created, minimum 40% have. So even if separate salaries for women and men, they were demolished already in 1962, we still have the gender pay gap. We saw in the poll question that Norway has the smallest gender gap. I think Finland has one of the highest among the Nordic countries. And also even in Nordic countries, women still do a bigger share of the unpaid household work. So these are the challenges that still exist.
Heli, why do you think companies should encourage women to take leadership roles?
No, I think, in my opinion, there are like three clear reasons. The first one is that there are several studies that show that diverse management teams and diverse groups outperform homogeneous groups. And I think this is the number one reason for the companies, because actually the purpose is to make good business, and there needs to be like an added value of having women in the team. And then secondly, many companies like KONE, where I am working, we actually have diverse customers and diverse users of our products. So it's good that we also demonstrate or have this us customers are as well having, so that we understand their needs and can serve them better. And then the third reason is that actually, which I think is self-evident, that in today's world, we cannot leave like 50% of the population out. I think no company can afford of having that many talents completely left out. And this would be like significant waste of resources. And if we look the labor market today, there is no room for that.
As Henna was just saying, there is a quota in this issue in Finland. Do you believe in the quota? Do you think it's been effective?
Actually, there is not what comes in business lives to the gender distribution on the boards of the Finnish listed companies. It's not in the legislation, but there is a clear recommendation that the boards must have participants from both genders. And basically, because of the reasons what I just mentioned, I see the value in that one. And also this explicit recommendation, which has existed since 2008, is because of that, I think that has impacted a lot. The share of women has increased from 12 to 30% in the board of directors.
Henna, you made a lot of really important points about the ways in which Finnish government and business and society has made advances. What do you think are the benefits of all of this to society in general?
Well, for example, the Finnish education system is quite well known. It is performing very well in the international comparisons. And according to the studies, advancing gender equality and emphasizing gender equality in education system contributes greatly to this success in the education system. And of course, I already mentioned about the society as a whole. So the success behind the Finnish story is greatly due to the emphasis on gender equality. It was also, of course, a necessity. After the Second World War, Finland was a very poor country, and we couldn't leave just half of the population sidelined. And as Heli mentioned as well, in business life, so women have historically also very early on participated to the society, political life and business.
So in general business life, specifically in your organization, what are the best tools to encourage women to actually aim for these leadership positions?
Yes, I think the most critical phase is, like actually Mr. Rosenbaum said, this professor, that when there becomes time to establish the family, that is the critical point in the women's career. And when I think about my own career, I think there are three things which have helped me the most. And the first one is to have like women as a role models. And for me, my own mother was also a managing director, and I could see how she could combine together with my father, of course, like this leadership role with taking care of us. And I'm very proud that now I can also be the role model for many females. And then secondly, what has been very useful for me is mentoring. I just realized that actually all my mentors have been men, but despite that one, I think it has provided me a very important discussions. Their mentoring has pushed me like things about different perspectives. I think I have never been brave enough to go abroad without this mentoring. And in my company, there are like special mentoring programs dedicated especially for women.
Do you think there's a difference in how a woman would mentor another woman compared to your own experience of having men as mentors? Is there women mentoring that is necessary on the gender issue specifically?
I would not say that, especially I think in the Nordic perspective. I think it doesn't make a big difference if your mentor is a man or woman. Of course, it's maybe more about the personality topic. For some women, it might be important or easier to discuss with another woman. But I remember from this book, Lean In, which is by this woman who is working in Facebook, that in the States she was having it very much difficulties to have this informal discussion with men simply because of these, let's say, sexual harassment reasons or something like that. But I have never seen this as any kind of issues here in Europe.
Can you both share some personal stories of challenges you might have faced in your own lives and careers, or good practices that you've seen? Henna?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to have these social structures that make it possible. So again, this affordable childcare, that is the first thing. If I think about our own organization, I would say that we are doing quite well in advancing gender equality. We have, of course, these gender equal plans and strategies. This is a clear objective. And currently, in the Finnish Foreign Service, 48% of the ambassadors and 68% of the all employees are women. If we compare the number of female ambassadors, actually this is the highest figure in the world. So it's also telling that it has been going to the right direction.
So the Finnish Foreign Service is doing so well that you have no personal challenges to mention.
Yeah, if you would pose this question to my husband, for example, he might say that he had to make some kind of changes to his career plans.
So he was the one who made the sacrifice in the family.
Yeah. But his profession, he's an engineer, and during our life together, the last 15 years, he was able to do this working distance for the university and later on for the company. But it hasn't gone without challenges, I must say.
So behind every strong woman is a great man. We can also paraphrase the old saying. Heli?
Yeah, I would say exactly that. Actually, the most important decision, which I think have impacted my career, I have made outside the working life, and this is exactly to have a spouse who is willing to share the household works equally and ready to open ask for outside help, and then also balance the life like that both can have both can have a career. So definitely I would say the most important decision is who do you select as your spouse if you want to have both family and a career.
And would you say that the wonderful Finnish educational system has resulted in more Finnish men being open to these options?
I can share also, like from personal experience, that there is a clear division between age. I remember that when I was having my children and I was working, I was like at workplace 5 o'clock. My male colleague, who was 50-year-old, was saying that how can you be here? That how can your children get like food at home? And then I exactly replied that my children have a husband as well who is fully capable of cooking. At the age of 40, which most of my bosses were at that time, they already kind of in paper were understanding the major, like the gender equality, but in their own lives, many of them had wives at home taking care of most of the topics. And then the men in my own age, so they were already, for them it was fully natural. And I can see that, yeah, for people now in the 40s and below in Finland, I think this gender equality is very much coming automatically.
But would you say, and this is a question for both of you, it's also the last one, would you say that it's necessary for one of the two parties, either the husband or the wife, to take a step back for a while and shoulder more of the burden of the responsibilities at home? Or is it also possible in Finnish society for both husband and wife to have an equally dynamic career at the same time?
I think that depends on many like other topics, because of course we have, for example, got a lot of help from grandparents. We have also been able, because of the salary, to have some services at home, like cleaning and this type of thing. But it very much then depends also on the personal values and choices that we have more or less like have a little bit like going on in phases. So there has always been one who is maybe a little bit more responsible for the household work.
I would say the same, but among my friends, I have very good examples how you can really carefully distribute this household work with Excel sheets and so on. So you can really make it and share the care very, very equally.
Okay, so another important thing for the educational system is to train kids to work in the Excel sheets, because they might need it at home, even if they don't need it at work. Thank you both for your insights.
Yeah.
This was really educational.
Yeah. Thank you.